How's it going, everyone? This is Just Jalile here in the hype behind The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's coming soon and it's coming hard. So what better way to get into that hype than to reliving some of the best games that have Zelda has brought on to us. We are lucky and fortunate to have played these games, and you let me know what the ranking system is for this. But as of right now, I will make a as quick as I can get, Zelda ranking before the launch of Tears of the Kingdom. So, if you are not aware, Tier Maker, real easy, real popular. I've definitely not given this a try before, so this will be my first time, and I'll do it with probably one of my favorite franchises in all of Nintendo. So let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Just Jalile official, unofficial Legend of Zelda ranking of the main line series. So we're gonna try to go in chronological order. As I can see here, it's already not in chronological order, so let us try to do it in a manner so that we can all catch along. So, first game in the series, the one and only, The Legend of Zelda. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've never finished this game, and personally speaking, I can't confidently say it's the best game, but it is definitely the one that kicked off the series. Legend of Zelda, the very first one, the OG. Fundamentally, it is as good as you can get. It is probably the basic form of what you want in The Legend of Zelda. This basically gave you the blueprint. This gave you the skeleton of what Legend of Zelda is going to be in the 30 years it's existed. And really, that is A for effort. That is A for effort. That's A for execution. I haven't beaten the game myself, but I can confidently say I will one day beat this game, and I will gladly do so somewhere down the line in the future. So Legend of Zelda, the first one in the A ranking, I feel like a lot of people would agree with that. Now, the one that I don't know too many people would agree with is its sequel. Its actual bona fide sequel. Very few Legend of Zelda games get sequels, but this one's one of them. The Legend of Zelda 2. Now, you would think that Legend of Zelda 2 is primed to be a step up of Legend of Zelda, the first one. But let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes you don't get the same results twice, which is why I will confidently say that The Legend of Zelda 2 goes little lower than A and right at C. Why? I'll tell you why. Because there is nothing more frustrating than having to do some of those dungeons. Those dungeons are brutal. I played the first dungeon, little story time. When I was a wee lad, I went over to GameStop. I told them I want to play Legend of Zelda on my Game Boy Advance. They told me, oh, there is the actual re-release of the Legend of Zelda games on Game Boy Advance. You should definitely pick that up and, start from the series there. And I said, absolutely. So I bought the Legend of Zelda for the Game Boy Advance, put it on my Game Boy, and I realized that I was playing Zelda 2. Didn't know what I was looking at exactly because I knew what Zelda 1 looked like. I didn't know what Zelda 2 looked like. Was unaware I was playing a Zelda game. It felt like I was playing a bootleg Zelda game, trying to figure out what exactly I had to do. Next thing you know it, I realized that this game did in fact exist, but the mechanics behind it was completely different, completely new. I was not a big fan of it, which is why I ended up returning the game, asking for a refund, and never looking back at Zelda 2 again. Now, granted, since that time has gone, it's definitely been one of those things I've definitely considered replaying. But as of now, it is not there as one of my favorite Zelda games. I haven't played through it completely, which is why C is as good as it can get. I think it will get better. I would want to give it a try on the NSO app, but as of right now, Zelda 2 has to be in the C ranking because I don't think it's bad. I think there's a lot to play with the mechanics regarding Zelda 2, but as of right now, I cannot do Zelda 2 justice at a D, but I feel comfortable with a C. Y'all let me know in the comments, because I mean, let's be honest, some of you guys probably played and beat this game, and I gotta be right there with you if I'm gonna be able to say that I am a Zelda fan, which at this point I'm starting to reconsider if I haven't even finished the first 2 games. But one game I can confidently say that is not a C ranking. Spoiler alert, Zelda A Link to the Past. It is here and it is proud to be the one, to be the very best. Sorry for the singing, I'm not used to it, but you know what, it is what it is, and that is gonna be an easy A. Like, really, is there any other reason I should not give it an A? It is basically what the fundamental Zelda 1 is, but ramped up to 11. It said, this is what we are, this is what we are going to be. So we are not only gonna be able to deliver, but we are also gonna do more by engaging, creating an engaging story now with lore behind it. And it's gonna be one for the ages, literally, because this is gonna be revisited from time and time again. I'll tell you that. So, Zelda, A Link to the Past, easy A. It basically defines the Legend of Zelda. If you ever wanted somebody to say, hey, what's the Legend of Zelda? What is it really about? You pointed them at A Link to the Past. It's the clean graphics, it's the smooth gameplay, it's the puzzle solving, the dungeons, the boss battles, the flip the scripts when you have to go in the overworld to look for certain items, and now you have to find out that you have to go to the dark world. Oh my god. On the SNES, 2 worlds, you cannot make this up. If you can go back in time, you should see whether a friend or yourself discover that this game is twice as big as you expected. See a little Zelda fan have their mind exploded with that idea. So Zelda: A Link to the Past, easy A, fantastic game. I don't know how many times I've replayed, especially the beginning. The beginning is so good. I cannot imagine too many games being able to have such a strong start like that. Having to hear the music and you running to the castle, you go right into the castle. Like Breath of the Wild, you can go there and fight Ganon right off the bat. But for Zelda, Link to the Past, to tell you immediately, you will start at the castle and you will somehow find your way back here. You know that's going to be a really strong story to want to fight and go throughout your adventures. Now, moving on to a little game. I mean, little by the kind of definition of it, but it left one of the biggest impressions in my mind. I am talking about Legend of Zelda: A Link's Awakening. This one is a little bit of an oddball because, let's be honest, Link's Awakening on the GBA or on the GB Game Boy Color, one of those things you've always dreamed of as a kid. Can I play Legend of Zelda on the go? Can I take with me this epic adventure on a small handheld pocket system and get the same experience? And Nintendo was wondering that themselves too, and they decided, yes, we can give you a Legend of Zelda experience in handheld form. And not only doing so, but creating a whole genre of video games moving forward, because since I believe this game right here really brought up the notion that you can bring the main series into handheld form and you do not need to strip away any of its essence. So Link's Awakening, which on the Game Boy, this is the Game Boy Color one. I don't know if it's a DX version, because the director's cut version, DX version, is definitely the one you want to go by. I'm assuming this is the director's version as well. It's hard to like want to justify it as a B, but you know what? This is my ranking. I'm gonna say A. This is one of the first games I played on the Game Boy, and I loved it. It came with me as a birthday present for my parents. Love them very much. Thank you, Mommy, Papi, for making me a Zelda fan by getting me a Game Boy Color, the lime green one too, might I add, and got Link's Awakening with it. Best time of my 9-year-old life. So Link's Awakening, A. I love the remade version. If I don't see it here, but the remade version as well deserves high praise as well for the artistic style they went about. But I feel like this has gone way too long. I need to wrap this up. I need to stop talking about how much I love about Legend of Zelda and start focusing on what makes Legend of Zelda so epic and so awesome, which is why we are starting to get to the S tier. Sorry for spoiling that little section for you guys, but Link's Adventure in Ocarina of Time, S tier. That is what I was saying about the first OG Legend of Zelda and then the Links to the Past, how great they are, how much they are the fundamental essence of what Legend of Zelda is. Ocarina of Time says, this is it, and I will put a stamp on that to make sure that any Zelda game moving forward hits this stamp. And Ocarina of Time is definitely one of them. It is basically a Link to the Past in 3D form, but this is reaching barriers that nobody knew there was barriers of. They never would have imagined that Zelda would reach the 3D era so soon. At this point, this is only about 11-year-old franchise, give or take. Pretty sure it's 11 years, but 10 years. Yeah, I think it's about 9 years. I mean, I have to double check my numbers because last time I checked, this is not a math channel. So I'm going to say 10 years just because I'm going by the whim of my brain. And right now my brain's not working that well, but I know enough to say that Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is by far the best Zelda game in the 3D era. This is it. This is where you want to make sure that your games are at least for a Legend of Zelda game. So remember when I said it's one of the few games that have sequels? Then I'm talking about the very own Majora's Mask, which is also a fantastic game, which let me just preface this by saying that I do not see the remakes here at all, and remakes would be ranking a separate list, but for the mainline games, this is definitely one of the best games, and I think I prefer the 3DS version. Zelda Majora's Mask on the 64 was not a big fan of it. It scared me as a little kid, and I only beat it on the 3DS version. So where can I put this here? Because I love the 3DS version. 3DS version is probably the best way to experience it. The Nintendo 64 for me, again, I was scared as a kid, and I'm still scared of it as an adult. I don't think I can go back to it on the 64 version, so I'm gonna have to put the Nintendo 64 version on a B. Let the hate comments start flowing through you. Start putting down your comments in this comment section. I'll give you about 5 seconds to tell me how much of an idiot I am, how much that the 64 version is by far the superior one over 3DS, and that's when I'll tell you you're wrong. The 3DS version is probably a little bit easier for the new player to come in, which as myself was a new player coming in and had a much better experience because of it, which is why Majora's Mask for me is gonna have to go with B, because the B version, the 64 version, is a little bit rougher, it's a little bit harder, and it's a little bit darker for me to view and enjoy it. So it's Majora's Mask, fantastic game. The 3DS version could easily be an A up there for me, but for the 64 version, it's gonna be a B. It's gonna be a B, and it's gonna be the Oracle of Ages and Seasons up next. Those are the GBA. At the end of the GBA, the game, my god, that's how old I am. The Game Boy Color version, I got used to saying GBA my whole life, that I forget the Game Boy is still its own iteration. So the Game Boy had 2 classic Zelda games, and they had the Zelda Blue and Zelda Red version. which at the time I didn't know what the difference was, but I knew I need to have them. But because it was at the end of the Game Boy Color cycle, Game Boy Advance was coming up, I knew that I wouldn't be able to go back to this anytime soon. Luckily, the first iteration of the Game Boy Advance, you could play Game Boy Color games on the Game Boy Advance, which was fantastic. I love when Nintendo is able to do backwards compatibility. But in order for me to play these games, I had to have gotten it first, which was nearly impossible to get at the time. So it took a little while and it took some time. But when I finally got my hands on Zelda Oracle Ages and Seasons, I realized that I should have gotten a little sooner, but I appreciate the games for what they're worth. So Ages and Seasons are gonna have to go with the B because I said so. That's what the B stands for. No, but seriously speaking, B, fantastic game. I mean, I also got to stop putting too many A's, because I mean those three in the A sections are definitely worth it, but they are not a Link's Awakening. They're fun. I'll tell you this: the swapping between the seasons, if you go between Ages and Seasons, is pretty cool. One is being more combat focused, with the other one being more dungeon focused, is a very unique concept. But I feel like if they meshed the two together, you would have just gotten Link's Awakening, which is why it's in the A section. And really, there's nothing wrong with being a B rated Zelda game. If you're a B-rated Zelda game, you are still above like the average good games out there. So like, you know, don't get me wrong, I will play these games from time to time. Zelda 2, maybe not so much, but any Zelda game above a B, they're still fantastic games. Speaking of fantastic games, because I feel like I need to start making sure that this list does not make me go past half an hour, is Zelda's Four Swords Adventure. Now, as a Pocket Zelda game, fantastic game. One of those games that makes you appreciate how far we've come, being able to play another Zelda game alongside having Link to the Past. I mean, the game itself, thinking about it, this game actually is a good introduction for a new Zelda fan. Anybody who wants to give Zelda a shot, this is a good introduction. I am, if it's the version that has A Link to the Past, which is, I think it is, because it's the Game Boy Advance version, I'm gonna have to put it on the A. I mean, the fact that it has Link to the Past already immediately bumps it, and Four Swords Adventures is pretty fun, except for the whole Link cable system, which is a little bit crazy, a little bit you know, too much of an investment for certain people. Definitely for me, it was a too much investment, because, you know, who's going to invest into 3 friends? Not me. I don't got time for that. I would definitely consider Link's Four Swords one of those weird titles where, you know, you're going to put it with an asterisk. The game itself, probably more between a B and a C, I want to say, because it was one of those that I can't remember too much. I keep mixing it up between Minish Cap, which is coming up, but Four Swords felt very much like Minish Cap, but reduced to a portable version, which is kind of weird. But with, you know, with Link to the Past being a part of the cartridge, it allowed the game to feel more impactful, more full. So for me to add it as an add-on to that asterisk, I'm just gonna have to say it's an A with an asterisk, which is why it's the end of the A tier. And speaking of Minish Cap, this game right here as well, fantastic game. Another A. Is probably one of my favorite games. Capcom, please get with Nintendo and start working on making other Nintendo franchise properties on the Nintendo console system, because you knocked it out of the park. Capcom mid early 2000s was on fire, and Minish Cap is one of those. Minish Cap is probably one of my favorite GBA games of all time. I can't believe it's on the NSO. I wish I had time to go back to it. Unfortunately, I've been stuck playing Pokemon Stadium in the last few weeks, and I want to keep playing Minish Cap because it's so good. I love the art style. I love Ezro. Man, I love him so much, I can't remember his actual name. Man, this is so embarrassing. Gonna have to cut this out. Minish Cap. Fantastic look, fantastic game. I love collecting the the coins. For somebody who loved these things, I cannot remember all the fine details, and it's real frustrating. But you know what I'm talking about, because you know the little coins where you click them and together and you get the little collections for figurines. Oh my god, I wish all Zelda games had those collectathons. What are they called? Rhinestones? Collection coins? Oh my god, I am really blanking out, and it's so embarrassing. And then I'm putting it on the A, and I have no definitive reason why. It is a fantastic game made by Capcom, and it has a cute art style, and it features the Toon Link that most people did not like. Speaking of which, this was a horrible chronological order, because I know Zelda, the Wind Waker came first, which is why it came. Why a lot of people didn't like the look, because this one came out in 2002, and I gotta say, I am getting my dates way too mixed up. So we're just gonna keep finishing this ranking real soon, because we're almost towards the end, and I feel like I got more than enough to say about some of these games. So it's Wind Waker. Did not play the GBA one. I was one of those who did not like Wind Waker, because I was like, Zelda needs to be dark, because they did it on Space World, and I want that version. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. I was a dumb little kid, and I was glad I picked this up on the Wii U, because Legend of Zelda, I'm gonna say, this is, for me, on my ranking, this is the Wii U version. Not the GameCube version, because I didn't play the GameCube version, and because the GameCube version and the Wii U version are essentially the same, minus the sale and some of the quality of life improvements, like the 8-piece Triforce, which, let's be honest, if I played that version, chances are I would have definitely lowered this in the ranking. But because I played the Wii U version, I'm gonna make an exception. I'm just gonna believe that the GameCube version was very much similar to the Wii U version. So mine is a sale, which, you know, had a good time making this adventure a lot shorter. Wind Waker is going in the A section. Shocker, I know. The GameCube version, let me tell you, it looks good. The Wii U version looks great. The only difference that I can really say between the two would have been those 8 Triforce, searching for the Triforce pieces and having to go back to Tingle. I remember playing the Wii U version, a little annoying, but it wasn't that troublesome. But I can imagine on the GameCube version being a lot more tedious, especially back in the day when you probably didn't even know how much it would cost to actually do all of that, and you realize, like, oh, this is getting pretty expensive. So having to pay Tingle, like, what was it, like 398 rupees, like each time you go visit him to do it, like, it was to read the map. It was definitely a little annoying. Again, the Wii U version wasn't that bad, but I can imagine the GameCube version bumping this down. So speaking about the Wii U version, I can confidently say, if I would go to the GameCube version, I would probably lower a little bit, lower end A. But honestly, it'll probably land in the exact same spot. If it was the GameCube version, it'll probably look more like this. But I mean, honestly, I doubt it at that point. I mean, oh no, definitely better than the original Zelda. Exploring the Great Sea is really impressive. GameCube or Wii version, or whichever version we played, it is impressive to sail the seas in the Wind Waker. Now, moving on to another game they happen to get a sequel. You know, now that I bring it up, there's actually quite an interesting set of sequels in these games, which is the Phantom Hourglass. Spirit Track says it's also a sequel. No, so it's Phantom Hourglass, kind of sequel, kind of not. Didn't really play too much of it at the time because I didn't think it was that impressive. It was impressive. I put it in the B just because I need to talk about it really quick. The B listed Zelda's Phantom Hourglass. I did not like the touch controls. I remember playing the demo, was not a big fan of it. Remember using the boomerang to solve puzzles, sketching out his trajectory. It was kind of cool, but I just did not feel that immersed. And knowing that Phantom Hourglass was a DS game, I felt like if it was one of those instances where I felt like the game had to be scaled down. Like Link's Awakening, it was made for the portable version, but it didn't feel like we lost a lot in the transition from console to handheld. But Phantom Hourglass felt a little bit downgraded in some cases, in some regards, and it just didn't. It was not visually pleasing. On the DS at the time was impressive, but looking back at it now, it's a little hard to look at when you're like, well, it's like a block. It's like more pixelated version of a 64 game, and I mean, it's kind of looks, it looks fine, but I'm not a big fan of the 3D aesthetics of it. If it was 2D, I feel like it would have been one of those games that we would have been talking about in highest regard. But unfortunately for me, Phantom Hourglass alongside Spirit Tracks are gonna have to go on the B because I didn't really play too much of them, and I wasn't a big fan of touchscreen controls for the majority of the game. Moving on is Zelda's Four Swords Adventure. GameCube game, fantastic game, one of those Bs. Didn't play too much of it, which is very good because this video is going long enough and I need to start wrapping it up because we are now getting into what are probably some of my favorite games, minus Triforce Heroes. It is time for Twilight Princess. Now here comes the fun part, where to put this, because Twilight Princess, I was one of those super hyped kids who was really into Twilight Princess, reading the Game Informer magazines, going to your GameStop to see if they got any information on it. And it's one of those games where it almost essentially grew up with me, and I was ready for this grown-up Zelda game. I was ready for it, except Nintendo said nah, and said no Wii U for you, no time for you to play Twilight Princess, and definitely not gonna be in the 8S ranking because this is one of those games where, despite it being fantastic, I believe that the Wii U version was the version we should have gotten. The slow start, which everybody talks about, is very tough, and for me personally speaking, I was playing it once. Little story time. I was playing it on the Wii U. I had just finished up doing all the tiers I believe it's Faron Forest. I got the tiers. I'm leaving the village. I'm exploring Hyrule again, and like thinking, all right, let me just explore Hyrule. I feel like I finally got freedom. Here I am exploring the world, and the power went off, and I lost 6 hours because I'm a slow player. I lost 6 hours of progress and didn't go back. Now this was on the Wii U version, which I eventually went back to it eventually and played it again. Didn't get to finish the Wii U version, but I did play the Wii version years later, like 2008 or something like that, and had a great time. But then looking back at it and now, I'm like, you know what? I don't know if it's that great of a Zelda game. It's good. It's good. I was hyped. It was one of the most hypest games at the time. But I don't know if I can, put it at the S. I can't put it in the S for sure. I can't put it next. This does not look right, but it doesn't feel wrong. I'm gonna put it over here, right next to the original Zelda. It is a fantastic game once you get to the dungeons. Yeah, I love the darker aesthetics. The bosses are probably one of my favorites, if not my favorites. My favorite one is always fighting the skeleton boss in the desert area. Oh my god, how can I not remember it? When they say action, my brain just says stop. So my brain is not functioning right now because I can't remember everyone and everything. But the story itself was fantastic. I love this game. Playing it, I would love to see it on the Switch. Nintendo, Daddy, make it happen, please. Because I'm gonna do something that I think most of us already know. This is gonna be right here, A Link Between Worlds. Fantastic game, 3DS. Not my favorite aesthetically pleasing game, but it is definitely one fun game. I remember playing this at the time and thinking, I'm gonna replay it time and time again. And I've done at least a few playthroughs of it, but I never seem to be doing the same thing twice. I always switch it up each time I play. So sometimes I'll pick up the boomerang. Well, boomerangs are always my first option to go to, but then I get the boomerang, then I get the ice rod, and then I believe I get the fire rod, and then I went on to get the what was the last item? The hammer, I believe it was. And each time I switched it up, it was always a blast. I always had a good time, but I can't remember if there was anything I didn't like about that game, because I remember thinking like this 3DS version was what I wanted in a Zelda game, and I mean it held me over when during the Zelda Wii U drought, but I kept thinking this game should just be on console. Just let me play it on the TV. If they ever put this game on the TV, easy, 10 out of 10. Easy, but they just never did. And I mean, I thought it was because of the graphics or something. I mean, obviously the touch control, but then the Wii U was just a big 3DS, so I don't know why they didn't just put it there. But Link Between Worlds, fantastic game. Essentially a sequel or a remake of Link to the Past, and that's never a bad thing. So technically speaking, not the most impressive, but for a gameplay standpoint, fantastic game. Looking at this list right now, it's looking real lopsided, if anything. So let's fix this up. Boom, easy. Triforce Heroes. All right, you're making the list a little bit more unique now, because I feel like it's starting to look way too one-sided on this side. So then, moving on to the last Zelda game on the Wii, Zelda Skyward Sword. Once again, I'm just going to put it here for now just because I don't want to hold the mouse. But Zelda Skyward Sword is one of those games that I did not pick up at launch date, because this was like 2011. Yeah, 2011. They're making a huge, and I mean, they were hyping this game up for like about 2 years. Maybe 3 even, because they remember they released that concept art with, I think, Satoru Iwata, rest in peace. And it was just Link's back and some sort of sword, and I believe that was like 2009, so it must have been 2 years, I believe, that they were hyping it up. But Skyward Sword was one of those games that they made you believe this was going to be the greatest game of all time, and I said, I don't think I can dust down my Wii, so I went and bought Batman Arkham City instead, which to me was the smarter choice, although I do kind of regret not getting the collector's edition, because that gold Wiimote and I believe the soundtrack was almost enough to justify purchasing the game and not opening it up, which, you know, now I should have. But at the time, I was like, that sounds worth it, but I don't know if it's worth buying the game. So I never bought the Wii version. Luckily, Nintendo listened to my email and said, you know what, this little idiot deserves a remade version, so we're going to give it to him. When we got the Switch version, Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which was the fantastic game. Enjoyed it, did not love it, and it was also really hard to go back to a linear structure after playing Breath of the Wild. So I will, like the Zelda Wind Waker, which again wouldn't have changed much, while this Wii version might change a bit depending on what time and day you ask me. But the Skyward Sword, I believe, would be closer to a B for me. The Switch version, at least. If it was the Wii version, I feel like it might be a little lower, because something about motion control did not really interest me too much. It was intriguing, right? But it did not captivate me in a manner that made me want it as bad as the other Zelda games. The story itself was what captivated me. The motion controls, not a big fan of it. But Skyward Sword was one of those games that really helped make the Zelda team, Eiji Aonuma, see what is getting a little bit lackluster, shall we say, regarding the Zelda franchise, and what needed to be spiced up. So Skyward Sword, I can confidently say, you know what, I'll bump it up. I'm gonna do one last check on this list, just because I'm not liking how there's too many A's, but I'll have to like double check in a second, as I immediately put Zelda Breath of the Wild in S. Let's be honest, it was gonna go S. It's not the best Zelda game, but is by far one of the best video games, and that's how iconic Zelda franchise has become in the last few years. So Zelda Breath of the Wild, easy easy S. As a Zelda game, probably a little lower, but it's hard to justify what this ranking is without Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is what the OG was, and chances are it may change after Tears of the Kingdom. Chances are it might not. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look over the list from bottom to top and see if I have any reason to change any of this. Now I'm gonna start from the bottom because Triforce Heroes, I only played the demo, and I can't say the idea really tickled my tingle. So I'm going to just put it on the D because I need something in the D. So Triforce Heroes, U, D1. Zelda 2, I'm going to leave it in the C because I can see that is what is needed to fill out that C, because I'm looking at Spirit Tracks, Phantom Hourglass, good games, not great games, but definitely games that I don't want to put them in the C because it just doesn't feel right. They're still great games, but they're not A-level games. Oracle of Ages and Seasons. I can't put them in the A either. It's B. B is, I'm confident with B. And then I'm looking at Four Swords Adventures. Four Swords Adventures on the GameCube. I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. I'm not too mad about it. Majora's Mask. I can't. The 64 one, like I said, this is the 64 one, so I can't justify it being any higher than that. If it was a 3DS version, I can see it bumped up, but as of right now, Zelda's staying where it's at. Skyward Sword, fantastic game. I'm talking the Switch version too, with all the improvements, and it wasn't my favorite Zelda game. It had a lot of great elements, but I still think it was too much of its time. So B is where I'm gonna keep it at. This one, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Four Swords probably is just gonna be in the B. Like I said, I'm really putting a lot of emphasis on Link to the Past being on this cartridge. So if it's in that actual cartridge, I would put it in the A. But I mean, the A was already getting pretty full, and I mean, all these games are fantastic too. So it's hard to like not put anything else out of order. So then Link's Awakening, I'm feeling like A is too high, but I really do enjoy this game. So A as it is. Minish Cap, fantastic game as well. Or the original Zelda, stands the test of time. It's good or reliable. Twilight Princess, one of the, I'll say this, it is one of the more average 3D Zelda games, and the way I see it is Ocarina of Time's an S, Twilight Princess is an A, and then Zelda in B. So yeah, that would be your average game, your average Zelda game, which lies in A. So there you go. Zelda's Twilight Princess is your average A-listed Zelda game. While Wind Waker definitely step up. Again, this is the Wii U version that I'm thinking of. The Wii U version can definitely be bumped up a lot more, but I'm just gonna say, like, if it was between the Wii U and the GameCube, let's just say it's the GameCube version, even though I play the Wii U version. But chances are it'd stay right there. Maybe bump up a little bit, but only because Zelda: A Link Between Worlds was such a great game. I played a lot of it. I used to love looking at my 3DS statistics and looking at it and saying, like, okay, what game did I play the most of, and where can I round it up at the nearest, like, hour? And Link to the Past was one that just, like, I kept raising the time spent, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put it on the 25th hour and the 30th hour. Oh, okay, let's just go to 40 or something. So then I put a lot of time into Zelda: Link Between Worlds. More than happy to leave it there. Link to the Past. AS. It's, oh yeah. Now I'm looking about it now. Yeah, it's definitely, that feels fitting. The Trinity, the Triforce is complete, because A Link to the Past is the archetype of what all the Zelda games should be. It is one that everyone should just always look to and say, this is what a Zelda game is. Then the Ocarina of Time is what the 3D version of Zelda should be. And in Breath of the Wild is the idea of what Zelda should be in terms of grand ideas. It's about exploring the world. It's about making sure you make the use out of your resources, helping out the different villages in their time of need, and discovering different forms of lore from like little tidbits of towns in interaction with the villagers and such. So this is the Triforce right here for me. Link to the Past, the wisdom, the Triforce of Wisdom, Oracle of Ocarina of Time, the Triforce of Power, because they demanded a lot of power for the N64, and then Breath of the Wild, the Triforce of Courage, because it took courage to make the game they did in 2017, and it took courage to make this the only game at E3 2016 to showcase. So there you go. This is my official ranking. I cannot believe it took me this long to do one of these. It was actually pretty fun. Actually really hard too. I had to think about it, and I realized that a lot of the things I said was very minimal to the actual experience that I had to the games, because a lot of these games, it's hard to say the same thing twice. So then for me to reflect on these games other than being fantastic, it's really hard to like pick and point out a portion of the game that made me go, this is it, this is an A, this is a B. It just as a collection of memories. This is some of the finer points that I can go and say this is what makes it an A and that makes it a B. This is my list for The Legend of Zelda. I'm excited for Tears of the Kingdom. I'm pretty sure you are too. I would love to hear what you guys think. I would love to hear how wrong I am for putting Majora's Mask, the 64 version, in the B ranking. And I would love to hear what else I got wrong as a Zelda fan. I got plenty wrong on this. I know that for a fact. So write down your Zelda tier list in the comment section below. I would love to hear and read about everyone's experience regarding Zelda. And let's get hyped up for Tears of the Kingdom week. We are only days, I'm counting down hours away from Tears of the Kingdom. So hopefully you're as excited as I am, because I am not gonna be seen or heard from after I download it on the Switch. So this was Just Your Lyle. Thank you for sticking with me, and I'll check you guys in the next one. Later.